Assalamu alaikum. I'm Rafi Qureshi. I've been into UAE for like 9 years, where I had the opportunity to work for different startups, different companies, FMCGs, hospitality, real estate, e-commerce, travel tech. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about search marketing, search basically. So there is this fundamental thing that we all have been hearing, that SEO is dead. The thing is that SEO is not dead, but it has changed a bit. How it has changed, it's just, it's SEO, it's still there, but then there is AI that we have added on top of SEO. But then SEO is still there, working. It's just we need to start feeding it with, AI. It's very different that it's not just Google now. So if, as a company, if as a startup, you're thinking that, if we have to start optimizing for Google for keywords, then you are actually doing it wrong. I think so one of the things that everyone needs to understand is that when I optimize it for the user, and not just for a specific platform or a product, but mainly for the user. And then you need to take one step back and think like, where is my user currently? And the user is not on Google. Actually, Google has become the last stage of the funnel, whereas the first stage of the funnel has become platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and AI itself. When I say AI itself, it's like platforms like Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, Replit. And one of the things that has changed is a lot of people, when they're starting their discovery phase, they go to platforms like YouTube. Like 68% of the users right now, they go to YouTube before they even think of either using a product, buying a product, or even exploring a service. They go to platforms like Insta and so on. From keywords to conversation, I think so one of the things that has also changed is like if I go back 10 years from today, जब भी कोई बंदा डिस्कवरी के लिए जाता था, as in when you are willing to search for something, you would go to Google, you would enter a keyword, and basis on that keyword, you will be like, okay, now there are these 10 blue links, and I'm going to click on one of these links. But I think so it has changed. If you go to Google right now, what happens is that you search for something, and then there is this AI snippet that comes on the top where Google is actually telling you, okay, what is it that you need? For example, like one of the basic things that I was looking for yesterday was a certain meaning to a word. And then it was telling me everything about that word. Like, the origin of the word, like if it was Persian or if it was Urdu or if it was French, basically. And all of that was coming through Google AI. And then there were different websites that were telling me the exact meaning of the word. But then as a user, मेरा जो objective है वो उस information को पढ़ के ही ख़त्म हो जाता है, and then I don't need to click anywhere. And what it tells me a very simple thing, that I don't have to start optimizing anything to generate traffic on the website, but I think so I need to start answering queries that people are actually asking. So how do I answer those queries? I think so that is like one of the problem statements that I see with a lot of startups, with a lot of companies, with a lot of different verticals that I have worked with. And one of the things that I've seen is that all these companies, they're like now focusing on how do they feed AI. Why do they have to feed the AI? So that they can omit those results, but then they can be on the knowledge graph that Google shares with you. So now we are in a phase of zero discovery or zero-click discovery, where you need to start optimizing yourself, your website, your product for the zero-click. So for instance, if I have to create a post for my Instagram, maybe I will not ask what tool do I need to use, but I will ask, how do I build one? And then you, as a product expert, you need to tell the user like how with your product you can actually solve this problem. And I think so this is what you need to start optimizing for. Previously, it used to be more about backlinks or more about sending traffic to your website. But right now, it's more about creating all those citations where you're like, how do I make sure when someone is searching for something, for a product review, for a service that they need, how do I make sure that they're able to see it, they're able to understand, like, okay, if I have to solve this problem, this is the type of product that can actually solve this problem for me. So like, so it has become more of a, the creator AI consumer economy, which runs on the feedback loop basically, where you have to be like feeding the AI. And how do you feed the AI? Right now, the Gen Z, if I talk about it specifically, the Gen Z, 70% of them are not even going to Google. Like I've talked to my nephew and my nieces, and when I see them searching, it's a very different way that they search versus the way that I used to search. So if I had to start something, I would go to google.com and I would put a query, and basis on that query, I would make the decision. But when I'm talking to these guys, what I see is that they are going to platforms like TikTok. They're searching for certain hashtags, and they're seeing like, what people are actually talking about, these particular topics that they're looking for. And basis on that, they search for these products as a next step on platforms like Google or any other search engine. But then the question is, if I have to optimize for these platforms, because my objective as a product is to optimize for bringing you solutions to whatever problem that you are actually looking for or that you're trying to solve for. And to do that, one of the best ways of doing that is to utilize the UGC economy, where you need to build content, and you build that content through TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, and other platforms where you are allowed to actually create a lot of this UGC content. And then you need to move that UGC content into these different AI platforms. But then how you do that? You do that when you're also, along with this content, you're submitting your transcripts to these, these content pieces that you're generating. And within these content pieces, you're telling these platforms, AI platforms like ChatGPT or Perplexity or any of them, that these are the queries that you need to talk about. And then these AIs would search for these queries through these different social platforms where you have created this content. And they would capture this content, and basis on this content, they would start providing you answers. The other way for you is to start feeding your website the content, which is like, how to do this, how to build that. If you are a fintech solution, then you need to talk about how Apple stock price is going to change. If you are a currency conversion platform, you need to talk about how currencies are changing. And what is the prediction, like in the next 3 months, what is going to be the rate and what is not going to be the rate. And all of that information needs to be fed it to these platforms, but the way to fed it to them is to do it through your website, your content, your user-generated content, your influencer-led content, and then AI would be able to start gathering all this information from all these different third-party sources, all your Q&As, all your FAQs, all your Reddit queries, and AI is going to build a story around that content. And when we talk about optimizing it for AI, this is how you optimize it for AI, when you build all this content around these topics, around these areas, and then you start feeding this content through these platforms so that AI can present it with all these sources and citations, and then you can actually solve your actual problem. And then the last stage of all of this, when you are able to see through AI, is how your consumer is going to take the decision. How is he going to make the decision, where there are certain KPIs. Like, for instance, I work at Baraka, which is a wealth tech platform. The objective for me is to bring in more registrations. And I've seen traffic coming through ChatGPT where people are asking, what is the best platform to invest into US stocks? I don't want to advertise Baraka, but what I would do is I would tell them everything that I can about the US stocks, how do you enter into the stock market, how do you enter into the US stock market. But then I'm not talking to them about why Baraka is the best US stock trading platform, but I would still talk to them about how they can do it, how they can solve their problem. And that is what AI will gather as information and will provide them. Like, these are the 5 best ways for you to actually start investing into US stocks. what this means for like any startup, I mean, you need to just divide this into these 5 areas: modular content engine, compatible data and schema markups, AI, API-ready, machine-readable content, creator-integrated distribution, and then multi-surface optimization. To keep it simple, I think so I've lost my slide. Can someone? It moved out, yeah. So can we go back to the previous slide? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So when we talk about modular content engine, again, the same thing, feeding content to your platforms, and then AI can capture it. Compatible data, schema markups, FAQs, whether it's FAQ, any pricing, you're running an e-commerce store, you need to put all your schema attributions to that so that AI can capture it. If you're a product review website, your rating schema markup, your comparison schema markup, your reviews, so that AI can capture it. And when someone is asking this question to AI, like what is the best platform to create social content posts? Is it Figma? Is it Canva? Is it something else? The schema will tell chatbots or AI or any of these chat engines, like, this is what you have as option because we were able to read it. So making it accessible through that. Creator integrated distribution, which is again through your UGC content, TikTok, Insta, and so on, and then multi-surface optimization. If I'm just putting that into different business models, fintech app, let's say, or a SaaS tool or an e-commerce brand, this is how I would divide it. Like the data layer is like exposing instruments, fees, FAQs. As my data layer is structure, content, schema, then content layer explain everything as a 18-pager document so that every single detail is there. So when someone is actually asking me a question, they're able to access it. And then if it's an e-commerce brand, I would integrate my product feed so that every single product that I have on my e-commerce store is there in any of these chat agents. So if someone is actually talking about a product review, needs to know about a product review about a specific product on, let's say, ChatGPT, they have all this information because then I have integrated my, product feed into that as well. Thank you.